All right, here's a headline. SpaceX stock sinks below IPO price. Short sellers up $8.7 billion. SpaceX wipes out $1 trillion in market value from its peak. Now, I don't know about you, but $1 trillion is a lot of money. I don't know how a company loses $1 trillion in a month. And also, how much money is that really? Let's rewind to 2018 to put that into context. Apple becomes the first $1 trillion company. Now, I'm not sure how many of you were alive in 2018, but 2018 Apple was no slouch. Here's some numbers. In 2018, Apple made $265 billion in revenue, and that's 16% more than they made in 2017. $60 billion in net income, $77 billion in cash flow, $86.5 billion in dividends and share buybacks. This was a rich company. And they were growing. Despite increasing the price of the iPhone 10 from $700 to $1,000, the number of units sold was flat, and their revenue actually grew by 29%. Their services revenue also grew. This is everything like iTunes, App Store, iCloud, other cloud services like that. This grew by 27% in 2018, and it's basically pure profit. And given Apple's walled garden, money that's likely to continue coming in. They were also expanding internationally. They started manufacturing iPhones in 2017 in India. And while it probably wasn't that important in 2018, given the worsening US-China relations, it was probably a prescient decision. On top of that, 61% of their revenue came from outside the US. And in just Q4, $20 billion in revenue from just Asia. So the bottom line is Apple was a mature company that was rich and continuing to grow by double-digit percentages. Now let's compare that to SpaceX. In 2025, SpaceX made $8.7 billion in revenue. In Q1, they made $4.7 billion in revenue. I don't know about you, but that doesn't exactly seem like a growing company. One thing is growing, however, and that's their costs. In 2025, they spent $12.7 billion, all of 2025, in CapEx on AI. In just Q1 of 26, they spent $7.7 billion. Am I reading that right? $7.7 billion in just Q1. They lost $4.3 billion in just Q1 compared to 4.9 in all of 2025. The other thing that's growing is their valuation. They grew from $350 billion in December 2024 to over $2 trillion. I mean, this chart is already outdated after their IPO. So yeah, just absurd, doesn't make any sense. However, there is one silver lining, and that's that hidden inside of SpaceX is a real company, Starlink. Starlink gets you internet in your rural areas, on flights, in remote areas, in war zones. It's cheap. It's cheaper than the alternatives that existed before. It is much more reliable than any of those alternatives. It's faster than those alternatives. It's a pretty good product. And putting aside any of the environmental concerns or the issues of putting all of your internet connectivity in the hands of one single trillionaire, it's a decent product. And let's just talk about the financial. So in 2025, Starlink made $11.4 billion. This is just the Starlink segment. And they cost $7 billion. So that's $4.4 billion in profit. That's not a lot, but it's pretty decent. Their space operations made $4.1 billion in revenue and cost 4.7. So not crazy, but Starlink's carrying it. You know, they're still not in the red. And they added this AI company, XAI, that's made $3.2 billion and it lost $9.6 billion. Add on all of the interest payments, taxes, everything else, and yeah, they lost $5 billion last year. And Starlink just can't carry all of that. It's not sustainable. So why is SpaceX investing so much in AI? It's because that's where the growth is. Anthropic just pledged to spend $1.25 billion per month for compute for the next 3 years. That is $45 billion over the next 3 years, $15 billion per year. And while it's nothing compared to the $265 billion of Apple, it's nothing to scoff at, right? Until you read the fine print, which is that either party can terminate the agreement with 90 days notice. So, yeah. Which brings us full circle to that first headline. SpaceX wipes out $1 trillion in market value from its peak. It makes sense now. People are kind of figuring out that this company doesn't really make money. But remember, $1 trillion is what they wiped out. That's what they lost in a month. It's still valued at $1.63 trillion. SpaceX could have lost a whole Coca-Cola, Pepsi, McDonald's, Starbucks, Nike, and General Motors worth of value. This is like these companies just wiped out, bankrupted, don't exist anymore, and still be worth $1.63 trillion. That's more than Tesla, that's more than Berkshire Hathaway, it's more than Walmart, it's more than AMD, and it's more than 2018 Apple with its $265 billion in revenue. So what does this mean for you? Now, obviously this is not financial advice, but nothing here makes any sense. It didn't make sense at $160 on IPO day. It didn't make sense at its peak of $225, and it doesn't make sense today at $125 or whatever it is. You can't help but feel a little bit nihilistic about it. But there are a couple things that you can keep in mind. Firstly, if you're invested in NASDAQ index funds, you are invested in SpaceX. This is not financial advice, and I don't think you should take all your money out of the market and run, but for context, I haven't. But this is just something to keep in mind because it is good to know what you are investing in. Secondly, OpenAI and Anthropic are two other massive companies who are planning on doing $1 trillion IPOs later this year, pretty soon. So be wary of them and don't listen to anyone who tells you how things are gonna go. Don't listen to me, don't listen to your economics professor, don't listen to Sam Altman, Dario Amodei, don't listen to Jim Cramer, definitely do not listen to Jim Cramer. I feel like in the past, IPOs used to be funding vehicles so companies could actually make money so they could grow. But these days, most companies are able to make bank off of just the private market. Databricks just raised another round. This is their Series M at $188 billion valuation. So this is a company who is companies used to be crazy when they were valued at like $10 billion or $100 billion. This is a private company who's raised money for, I think this is the 13th time privately at a close to $200 billion valuation. I think these days IPOs tend to be more of exit vehicles for insiders like the founders, co-founders, employees, and early investors to dump all their shares on the public, or just like get some liquidity. And lastly, and most importantly, invest in yourself. Go to a gym, join a run club, go on dates, read books, play games, go outside and make friends, network and get a better job. Like all of these things, I can guarantee you will get you more happiness and more value to your life than seeing the number in your bank account go from $1,000 to $1,100. And with that, that's Targeting Tuesday, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, let me know, and I'll try to make more of these. Make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, click the bell, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. And with that, this is Preetham signing off. And until next time, I will see you later. Goodbye.